Preaching with fire, faith, and simplicity. Father Mermier's vision. Dear friends, when Father Peter Mermier founded the Missionaries of St. Francis de Sales, he placed one tool at the very center of his missionary endeavor: preaching. Not preaching to impress, not preaching to entertain, but preaching to convert hearts and transform lives. Between 1832 and 1862, parish missions were conducted in 27 parishes. Preaching was the lifeblood of these missions, and Mermier left us with precious insights on how a preacher should live, speak, and touch souls. Today, I invite you to journey with me into Father Peter Mermier's wisdom on preaching. His words may be from the 19th century, but they still speak with power to our pulpits today. The first point for reflection today: preaching is sacred, not entertaining. Father Mermier insisted that preaching is not a show. He warned, in serious matters such as penance, scandal, words leading to laughter are out of place. For him, preaching was an encounter with God's truth. It was not a stage for clever jokes, dramatic outbursts, or empty applause. He opposed flowery language, theatrical gestures, and long-winded speeches. Instead, he valued clarity, depth, and conviction. His sermons were never meant to make people admire the preacher, but to draw them to God. He wrote, "Our duty is to draw the Spirit of God upon us and others, and to take precautions not to thwart in action." This challenges us. Do our homilies today point people to Christ, or do they point people to ourselves? The second point for reflection today is the style of a true preacher. Mermier gave very practical advice to preachers. Avoid mannerisms like endlessly repeating, "Well, now, dear brethren." Do not preach in anger. Keep things simple. Speak a language that everyone can understand. His wisdom is strikingly relevant. How often do we risk losing people with abstract theology, technical jargon, or a harsh tone? Mermier's vision was different. Let every word be a bridge, not a barrier. In his preaching, there was less eloquence but more zeal. He believed that what convinced people was not polished rhetoric, but a preacher who was burning with love for God and for souls. The third point for reflection today is the 3 stages of a good sermon. According to Jean Ray, Mermier's sermons followed a clear threefold movement. 1. Enlighten the mind, give clarity to the truth. 2. Touch the heart, awaken love, remorse, or desire. 3. Move the will, inspire concrete resolutions for life. This is timeless wisdom. A sermon is not just about ideas, it is about conversion. Preaching must lead people from knowing the truth to actually living the truth. Mermier once preached after erecting the cross, saying, "It is not enough to bear the cross. In order to honor it worthily, it must be borne with honor and pride, and one must esteem oneself happy to follow the Divine Master under his banner." Notice how he enlightens, touches, and moves. He explains the meaning of the cross, stirs devotion in the heart, and leads to a resolution to carry it with joy. This is true preaching. The fourth point for reflection today is the 3 loves of the preacher. People who listened to Mermier were struck by his warmth. Outwardly, he seemed severe in the pulpit, yet his preaching was inflamed by three great loves. 1. A love for the truth he proclaimed. 2. A love for the form in which he expressed it. 3. A love for the audience who received it. These loves gave life to his words. They shaped his gaze, his tone of voice, his gestures, and his conviction. That is why his sermons filled confessionals with people seeking God's mercy. The fiery preacher in the pulpit became the gentle confessor in the confessional. This is a beautiful lesson. Preaching must flow from love, love of God, love of truth, and love of souls. The fifth point for reflection today, simplicity over eloquence. Father Mermier was never seduced by eloquence. His nephew described him as not a man of eloquence, but of conviction, a man of faith, an organizer, practical in all things. Father Mermier of Magdalen testified, this man of God, who had no other eloquence than that of simplicity, lucidity, and conviction, attracted a great number of listeners to his instructions. What was his secret? Simplicity. He spoke to the people, not above them. He could put the greatest truths within the reach of the most simple minds. For some, his zeal felt strong, even excessive. But his preaching never left people indifferent. It disturbed consciences, awakened faith, and called people to change. The sixth point for reflection today, the demands on the preacher. Mermier knew preaching required discipline. He insisted, in preaching, teach what is necessary, to whom it is needed, when needed, and in the proper manner. For this, you need knowledge, study, practical application, and union with God. A preacher, therefore, must be a student always learning and studying, a man of prayer united with God, a shepherd applying truth to the needs of his people. Without study, preaching becomes shallow. Without prayer, it becomes powerless. Without pastoral sensitivity, it becomes irrelevant. For Mermier, these three dimensions had to go together. The seventh point for reflection today, zeal, not popularity. Some admired him as a powerful preacher. Others complained of his severity. But Mermier never sought to please. His goal was not popularity, it was salvation. He said no to applause, no to superficial compliments, no to empty oratory. He sought only to transmit God's word with conviction. This is why he could be misunderstood. Some saw zeal, others saw harshness. Yet for Mermier, the only measure of success was whether souls were touched and transformed. The eighth point for reflection today is the fruit of his preaching. What was the result? His preaching moved crowds. It filled confessionals. It awakened conversions. It inspired missionary vocations. Why? Because he preached with fire, faith, and simplicity. His words were not his own. They carried the Spirit of God. And so he could touch both the learned and the simple, the proud and the humble. To conclude, preaching like Mermier today. My dear friends, in our time, preaching faces new challenges, distractions, superficiality, short attention spans. Yet Father Mermier's wisdom still guides us. He teaches us true preaching is not about entertainment, but about truth, not about eloquence, but about conviction, not about popularity, but about salvation, not about preacher, but about God. If we preach with love for truth, love for form, and love for people, then our words too will enlighten minds, touch hearts, and move wills. May we, like Father Mermier, become preachers who burn with zeal, grounded in study, rooted in prayer, and alive with love. For then, our preaching will no longer be ours, it will be the Spirit of God speaking through us. Live Jesus.